All right, thank you, Shaman. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. I want to give a brief intro and then we'll go into the programs. As mentioned at the beginning, we have a Slido. If you have questions, please post it in the Slido. The QR code is right here on screen. For people who are on the WebEx, it will be on your right panel on WebEx to post questions. Or you can go to slido.com and the code is TMAGC for asking questions. Right. So this is going to be one of the multiple sessions we're going to conduct. Based on the interest in session one, we'll have further sessions. The idea is to give brief overview on the US college admission process and answer any questions based on the information that we know as a parents whose kids has gone through this process. We also have two students on WebEx. The third person could not join today, but they're going to talk from their perspective. They have been in a high school senior, and they also gone through the admission process. So for people here, yes. WebEx, yeah.
The WebEx PowerPoint is done.
Do you see now?
Yes.
Okay. So we have two presenters remotely who's going to talk about as well, and I'll be covering some slides. The third presenter could not join today. I want to know how many of you have kids in middle school or high school here who are present here? High school, middle school? Okay, so the idea here is to give you an overview which will be applicable to middle school kids and also to the high school kids. I have a older daughter. She was one of the presenters. She is sick. She couldn't join. She is going through the admission process, and inshallah, this fall she will be a freshman in college. We have two more students on the call as well. So we wanted to share the experience that we have gained and also see if we can help our TMAG community to learn more about the college admission process. So with that, we'll get started. So this is like a disclaimer. We're going to talk about some of the financial aspects. So I wanted to put up here that information that are being shared is personal opinion. And if you want to follow it, you will do your own research and follow, right? It's something to protect the presenters. It's their personal opinion. But these are the information that we have learned and we are using for our own life. Hopefully, it's going to be useful to everyone here as well. The attendees on WebEx, we want you to see on mute if you have questions. At the end, we'll have a live Q&A. Until then, we'll use the Slido, as I mentioned, for Q&A. Session is being recorded and actually it's being telecasted in the YouTube as well. So if you have friends and family who want to join to YouTube instead of WebEx, they can do that as well. And the presentation and the recording will be shared later today or tomorrow with the community as well. And the high-level agenda, we're going to talk about college savings, financial aid, college tuition. Again, the intention is to give you an overview. A lot of content is here. We will touch upon them. And there's a survey at the end to see which topic you want to dig deeper. Inshallah, the future sessions will just focus on one or two topics. So today's intention is high-level overview with some details that gives you what you need to follow up on. Inshallah, our first speaker, she's going to introduce herself and talk about herself. So, Ruwaida, if you want to unmute and introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ruwaida and I went to CPSA. In CPSC, I competed in debate at the national level, and I was the captain of the team. I also did speech, missed Muslim Interscholastic Tournament, National Honor Society, ICTM, WISE, which is now known as Academic Challenge. I won two gold medals 2 years in a row at the state science fair. And along with that, I also won a bunch of special awards. So in the science fairs, many organizations such as the Water Reclamation District of Chicago, they came and saw my project and they liked it very much. So they invited me to present it to their board uh, in downtown. So I won some awards like that associated with science fair. I was also a representative in Red Cross, Girl Student Council, and I did a few medical internships. As for volunteering activities, I volunteered in the hospital. I did immediate care, and I was kind of like the receptionist. I did both positions. I did tutoring at my school and some National Honor Society activities such as road cleanups, and that was a part of the NHS. I applied to 12 colleges total and I received 6 guaranteed medicine acceptances. And my planned major is biological sciences, and I'm in the UIC GPPA medicine program.
Thank you. We'll go to the next student profile. So Farah Rahman, she's my older daughter. She is sick. She couldn't join today. So I'm going to quickly go over what she was going to present of, what she has done in high school. She's a senior right now and going through the admission process. And from sports club standpoint, her focus has been on the leadership side. She's part of youth and government, Triumph Honors, student council, marching band, and percussion as well. She is the current president and state committee chair for youth and government, senior student council class president. She's head of internal affairs. She has done volunteering at STSA, South Sri Lankan Tamil Student Association, and she has been volunteering with TMAGC as well. Our focus has been public policy, that's where she's applying. Inshallah, in March, she will know which college she's going to join. Next, we have Atif from Texas. One of our brother moved from here to there, and their son is also a high school senior. Atif, if you want to introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Atif. For the past 3 years, I've been going to Harmony Science Academy in Euless, Texas, and I've done a few clubs. First year, Red Cross, then I switched to HOSA, then American Math Competition, which is AMC, and then Student Council. I've done volunteering at the Masjid. I'm a teacher assistant for AP Chemistry, um, and I do IGNA Food Pantry volunteering. My planned major is computer science, and so far I've gotten acceptances from University of Texas at Dallas and Texas A&M.
Thank you. So we'll go into the actual presentation now. The first slide, we're going to talk about college savings. So how many of you have heard about the term 529? 529. Very good. I think at least a lot of people have heard about it. So 529 is a college savings program most of the parents utilize in the US. There are a couple of reasons why we want to do that. Some states, including Illinois, they have state tax deductions. And you have a limit of 10,000 if you're filing individually and 20,000 if you're filing as a married person. So $20,000 per year you can allocate towards your kids' college funds. And that $20,000 gives you tax break for your local or state tax, Illinois state tax, right? That will get deducted. The money that you invest, it's going to grow tax free. And then when you take it out for college expenses, there is no tax on that as well. The key thing here is those funds can only be used for college expenses. Right? This is allocated for education. You cannot touch it for anything else. If you do use it for non-college, then there will be penalties may have to pay. Illinois has brightstart.com. That's where is a certified program that all the Illinois residents can use. And they do have standard options to invest, and there are other mutual funds as well. The key thing I want to highlight here is if you want to look whether they are Sharia compliant or not, then you have to look at the fund and verify, right? That is something you have to do it on your own. They do have some standard options, but this is more from a financial standpoint. You can invest, it's going to grow tax free. You take it out of tax free as well. So that's 529 is available for anybody to start. You can start as soon as you have the kid born, right? Day one, if you have SSN number, you can start. So the earlier you start, it's better for long term. The second one on the right side here, UTMA or UGMA, these are funds or savings accounts for your minors. They are in the name of the kid, right? Until 18, you are the account holder, but after 18, that account belongs to the kid. Oh, video, sorry. The difference between 529 and the UTMA or UGMA, right? When you apply for college, people who are in their high school, they probably know there's a process called FAFSA. There's another slide coming on that. The financial application form, which will require you to fill all your financial details. They're going to ask you how much money you have for your kids in 529. Do you have an account for your kid under UTMA or UGMA? Each of those funds will impact how much funds you might get from the government, right? So 529, if you have 100,000 for your kid, they will calculate that as 5%. The funds are based on the parent's account. Even though you are saving it for the kid, it's counted as a parent asset. But UTMA or UGMA is against your kids and they are counted as the kid's asset and they are taxed at a higher number as well. So overall, if you want to invest, better way to do is 529. The key catch here is the funds can only be used for college related expenses. The last one listed here, real estate as a savings vehicle, right? Some folks are doing it. If you want to buy an investment property, the guidance, the other Sharia compliant vendors, they do support investment property as well, not just your primary home. You can buy investment property through them as well. So that could be an option where you buy a property 15 years from the road, you can sell it and use it towards your college expenses. If you have questions, put it on the Slido and we will try and answer. But in the interest of time, we'll keep going. Next is financial aid, or the short form people will say is FAFSA, pre-application for a federal student aid. Every high school student is required to complete this form to graduate. So this is mandatory at least in 204 or 203 school districts here. There is a waiver form you can sign saying that I don't want to complete it, but everybody highly recommends that you complete that form because that form will determine how much fund you might get from your state government or federal government. So it's mandatory for the graduation. So this form, once you fill out, it's going to use your previous year's tax return. So let's say your kid is in junior this year and they're going to go to senior year and you're going to fill the form in October. Your previous year tax return data is what is used to determine how much funds you have and what could be the contribution from the government towards your education. The term here listed here, expected family contribution or EFC, that is calculated based on this application that you fill out, and EFC will determine how much funds you might get from the government. Most of the IT professionals here, our salary is well above the uh, rates that they have in the government. So we may or may not qualify, but it's highly recommended that you fill out the form. And it's going to give you a number, expected family contribution. Let's say you fill it out and then it comes as 50,000 is your expected family contribution, meaning that you have enough funds to pay 50,000 per year for your kids' college. That's what the CFC means. And then based on that, the college will determine how much scholarship they want to give to your kid or not. The second one listed here is CSS, short form college scholarship service. This is primarily used for private colleges like Harvard or any other private colleges. If you look for, they look for more details. They will ask about your, I'll go to the next slide, which kind of compares what information is needed. The left side is FAFSA, which requires minimal information to complete. The right side will require more information. If you are applying for private colleges, on the Ivy League, University of Chicago in Chicago and Northwestern, they all require CSS profile, which requires additional information from the parent. They want to look at the full financial status before they can give you a scholarship or anything like that. So these two, again, the left one is mandatory, and the right one is dependent on the colleges you apply for. In terms of the financial aid, right, the federal government does give around $7,000 for people who are not earning enough. That's for based on the EFC. In addition to that, the colleges will also give scholarship. Most of the private colleges, they say they are need blind, meaning if you apply for scholarship and you are EFC, let's say $5,000, but the actual fee is $50,000, $60,000. As long as the student is qualified and gets an admission, they guarantee that they will pay that balance and they would be able to get admitted to the college. Most of us, our students will be looking at academic/merit scholarship. Need base is based on our financial aid. I mean, typically all the IT people here will not qualify for the need-based scholarship unless you're doing business or something else where your income level is low from a tax perspective. Majority of the IT who are W2 employees, they will not qualify the need based. They have to look at academic or merit-based scholarship. In addition to this federal also the scholarship, there's also option to do loans. Again, loan is the last option. It's heavily interest rates are higher, and I don't recommend going to that option unless it's very absolutely needed, right? There is a Muslim organization called ACC, and I will have the link on the resources. So they provide tax-free loan as long as the student is qualified and they go through the paperwork that they have. And they have a chapter in the US, I mean, chapter in Chicago, and few of the states are there. So that is something you can start looking early on. So if you want to qualify, you can look at that interest-free loan. So here we talk about cost of attendance. The cost of attendance is the total amount that you are required to pay to the college. It includes tuition, boarding, and books and everything else. And they deduct that from EFC or expected family contribution. And the remaining balance is what paid as the financial need. So expected family contribution or EFC, as I mentioned, is based on your application that you fill out for financial aid, and the financial aid is then determined by that. This slide is more like to give you some idea how much it's going to cost, right? And this is about a year old data. This prices might be slightly different. If somebody is going to go to college of DuPage, right? It's community college, it's around 5,000 per year. In state, Illinois State University, 16 or 15,000 is the tuition, 10,000 is room and boarding. And if you go to Urbana-Champaign, you have 16,000 plus 12,000, right? Out of state, if you go to out of state, obviously price goes up. University of Wisconsin-Madison, it's an out of state flagship, it's 38,000 plus 12,000. If you go to private school, not central, it's a neighborhood downtown, around 42,000 plus rooming and boarding. UIC, the assumption is people are going to travel from home, people local to Chicago, they can take the train from here, and their tuition is around $50,000. Room and boarding is not included. So this is just a rough idea, right? But if you look at other private colleges, in Ivy League, the average price is around $70,000 to $80,000 per year. So if your kid goes in-state, then you kind of save some money, but we don't know where the kids are going to go based on how good they are. If they're academically good, then they do get scholarship in the private schools as well. So we don't want to put down our kids saying that don't apply for Ivy League or highly selective college. We want them to apply wherever they can. And then finally, when it's time to decide, then you look at the money, how much you may have to pay. So that's like a rough idea. I know there's quite a lot of information in a short amount of time. I'm hoping you can digest that, or it's being recorded, you can listen later, and we can dig deeper into each of this topic. So today's intention is to at least give you some idea what all you might want to expect when you go through this college process. College visit, this is something I highly recommend for a lot of us. Our kid is the first kid going to the college in US, right? We haven't gone to a college in US, so we don't know how it looks, what to expect and other stuff. With COVID almost done, almost all colleges now support in-person college visits. So you can go to their website and book an appointment. Mostly they have it during weekends, Saturdays or Fridays. And as long as your kid is ready to visit, take them as early as possible. As soon as they join high school, if you have a younger kid with you, take them as well. We took our second daughter wherever we went for college visit, even though she's in middle school, she get to see the colleges during the middle school as well. So pick public colleges in Illinois, public colleges outside of Illinois, go to private colleges as well. So in Illinois, we have a good variety, right? We have University of Chicago and Northwestern are two top private colleges. You will get an idea how the private college looks like. And then we have Urbana-Champaign, which is a public university, UIC, which is also public. Then driving distance, we have Purdue and Madison. Those are all public universities, but out of state. University of Michigan is another highly selective college. So I highly recommend visit at least 10 plus colleges for a first kid. Then you will know what to expect, what the colleges are. So I'm going to see if there's any questions before I go to the next session. On the Slido. Jafar, is there any questions on the Slido? Do you see it? Okay. Anyone wants to ask a question here, or if not? Okay. Is UTMA applicable for non-immigration? Yeah, you can still start. It's not restricted to immigrants only. But the only difference I forgot to mention, the UTMA or UGMA, right? You can use that funds for any other purposes, not just for college. The 529 is restricted to college, but UTMA or UGMA, the funds can be used. The key thing is it's under the minor's name. As soon as they become 18, account automatically goes to them. You don't have control. Technically, they own the account. Can we use 529 outside Illinois college? Can one child fund can be used for other siblings? Yeah, so 529 can be used for colleges outside of Illinois as well. There's not all states support the state tax deduction, right? So we want to make use of that. Illinois is one of these 30 plus states gives us deductions for our funds towards 529. If we have more more funds, and if your older kid is not using it, you can use it for a younger kid. Some parents they want to do higher studies, they can use it for their own purpose as well. If you have funds in there and it's not being used, you can use it for some other kid. So it's not going to go waste. And if you want to use it for your own purpose, you can do that as well. Can we invest in 529 if my kid does not have SSN? I think at the minimum you need to have a tax ID. Without SSN, I'm not sure. We'll have to check. Because they do ask for the SSN or tax ID when you try to open a 529 account. All right, I think we're going to go to the next slide. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I transfer?
Yeah, so 401k, they have their own policy, right? So you cannot take your 401k out without paying penalty and tax all that money. So you want to lose money by doing that. The best would be to start investing fresh, or if you have a rollover account, like you had an employer, you left that employer, your old 401k is there. So you might be able to transfer that, but even that, you would still have to pay a penalty because you're taking the money out. So if you don't have 529 right now, then best is to start one right away and then use that. But 401k does allow you to take loans at some point. Let's say your kid is in the college and you need money, you can take up to 50,000 or 100,000. They don't pay penalty on it, but you have to pay interest back to yourself, 5% interest. It's still low compared to the external loans. So worst case, you can do that instead of going getting a loan outside, you can do that. Yeah. Yeah, so the government financial aid, most of us will not be eligible because our income is high. When you do the expected family contribution or EFC, so this one here, right? So this is based on our income and assets that we have. Most of us is going to show up as 70,000 or 80,000, which as per their calculation, you have enough funds up to $70,000 per year. This is not 4 years, right? 70,000 per year. So the government is not going to give you any funds. But there are scholarships based on how good your kid is. So the universities will give scholarship based on merit. You are academically good, you are athlete, you are good in your some sports, or you specialize in some area, right? So those scholarships are available and those can be applicable to our kids. The other thing, a lot of our kids don't put the effort. It's true for my own kid as well. There's a lot of organization giving $500, $1,000 scholarships, but it requires the kid to write an essay or something. That effort they have to put in. For example, Aurora has a Vivekananda scholarship, which is $1,000. They give it for like 6 or 10 kids. Same in city of Naperville have Indian organization. They give $1,000 scholarship. So each of those require effort from the kid. They have to apply the application. Sometimes they have to write an essay. So those can add up. If you do 10 of those $500, $1,000, it will be like 5,000, $10,000, right? But that is something, it's an effort that kid has to put. A lot of people have done it and they do get some amount from those other organizations. Yeah.
Could we have any slide back?
Yeah, extracurricular will come, we will cover that.
So that even the
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to repeat the questions. I think there were a couple of questions on 529 and the financial scholarship, but going forward, I'll try and repeat the questions. All right, we'll go to the next section. Um, so Atif,
Yeah, grades and GPA. When do grades start to matter? For most colleges, they only look at 9 to 12 high school grades, but eighth grades, eighth grades grades also matter because many schools use those grades to determine whether you will be put into an AP or honors program if you're eligible for those programs in high school. So you gotta uh, have solid grades throughout high school, even in eighth grade. What classes should I take, honors or AP? This all depends on your goals, but honors and AP, these classes, they'll give you more knowledge and they'll boost your GPA by a lot, and you can also earn college credit through AP. We'll talk about that in the next slide. But it depends. It helps your weighted GPA, which I'll get to. Unweighted GPA. This is usually out of 4. It's in like almost all schools and colleges use this GPA too. Basically, an A or a 90. Some schools use numbers, some schools use letters. Is equivalent to a 4.0, and the lower you go from there, the lower that number gets, but it's not affected by the difficulty of your classes. Weighted GPA, this is what I want to talk about. Honors and AP classes affect this, and the main reason that many schools use this is for class rank. That's from my knowledge, but class rank is really important, but it's not thrown out a lot because it it shows to colleges where you are compared to your peers, and it can have a lot of benefits. For example, in the state of Texas, the top 10% get automatic admission into almost all state schools. And the better you are at weighted GPA, you the more likely you are to have a higher class rank. And then finally, what's a good GPA? Unweighted, try to aim for a 4, but weighted, you if you want to go to a really good school, you got to outperform your competition, and therefore you have to go for beyond a 4. It really depends, but it's all up to you, your context, your school, what your school deems as good. Because some schools have GPAs ranging to 10, some schools have it to 5 or 4. You just want to have a good GPA compared to your classmates and have an A in your classes. And that's it for this slide. Can you please go to the next? Honors versus AP. This is something else I wanted to talk about. Honors and AP are some of the more difficult advanced classes that many high schools offer. There's also IB and dual credit, and these will give you weighted GPA and college credit. AP, dual credit, and IB have the potential to give you college credit, which means it'll save you money in college. You don't have to take those classes. So honors, it's the lesser, it's like pre-AP. It's more vigorous, no college credit offered, but you get a GPA boost. If your max GPA at your school is out of 5, you may get a 4.5. That's how it works. And it will allow you to move on to AP the next year. You can start at honors if you're not comfortable and then go to AP, or if you think you're good, you can just go to AP straight from ninth grade. Now for AP classes, they're usually the most advanced classes at a high school, and they're based on college curriculum. Whatever you about to learn in college, you're probably going to learn in this class too, but slightly less lower down. This, at the end of the year, you get a test and you can earn college credit. You need most colleges accept a 3 out of 5 on the AP exam. Some colleges may need a 4, depends on your college, but it's a really good opportunity to save money and get prepared for college. Because in college, things are going to get challenging and you have to manage your schedule and work hard.
The thing I want to mention here is most of the kids will take honors or AP classes. They recommend at least one AP minimum to do before graduate, but most of our Asian kids and Indian kids do more than one AP class. So AP class gives credit for the college, right? You will save money for paying for that course back in the college. Only caveat here is not all colleges will accept that AP course. Let's say you do AP sociology in high school and you join one of the universities out of Illinois. They may or may not accept it. So it's something you need to be aware. For you to take credit, then you have to take an exam, and there is a minimum score you have to score on the exam. But if the college do accept it, then you save a lot of money. Instead of paying the college, you already finished that particular subject in your high school. So you save a lot of money by doing it, but not all colleges accept the same AP courses. Veda?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the scale for weighted GPA. So for most high schools, you get a point. It depends on the high school. Some high schools will give you 0.5 for honors, 0.1 for AP, and some will give you an extra point for honors or and AP both. So basically, that means that if you get an A in honors or AP course, it will be worth more for your GPA than an A in a regular class. So that's why it's really worth taking as many honors and AP classes as possible. So it also means that a B in an AP class will be equal to an A in a regular class. And you can see the scale over here. It's basically a point extra because honors and AP classes are more difficult. This is just an example. So A student who took 3 AP classes and got an A in that, and 3 regular classes and got an A in that, their GPA is going to exceed 4.0. And you really want to try and take as many AP and honor classes as possible so that you can have a really, really high GPA. And colleges will look at your unweighted GPA too, because every college has a different amount of APs. I mean, every high school has a different amount of APs honored. Not every single high school has the same number of AP classes. So that's why they'll also take a look at your unweighted GPA to kind of even the playing field. And so the unweighted GPA would be 4.0 for this student because they got A's and everything. So an unweighted GPA, they don't consider the extra point that is added because of AP or honors. They just look at the A or the B, regardless of whether it's an AP or an honors class. So, but they look at both weighted and unweighted. So that's why you should try and maintain as many A's as possible and take as many AP and honor classes as possible.
All right, before we go to the next slide, there is a question. When does the school test AP for a college grade? Does that happen during this high school? Yes, it does happen during the high school, and you have to register for the AP exam. There is a fee for each of the AP tests that you're gonna do. And it happens toward the later part, for at least for my daughter, she's gonna take in March, which is in a month or so. What she is doing, this is for the kids who are in high school, right? She had taken around 6 or 7 AP classes. She has paid, actually, we had paid, she didn't pay for the exam, so we paid for the exam fees. She is going to decide which college she's going to go and find out whether they're going to accept that AP credit or not. If they accept it, then she is going to take the exam because by March, she would have known all the college admissions. She has to decide and then choose where she wants to go, and then she will choose to do the AP exam. If they're not going to accept the AP credit, then no point in writing the exam. So she wanted to do that way. But you do end up spending the money because it's around $700, around $100 per AP exam, I believe. No. AP classes related to major in college matters, for example, AP biology given. It does help overall if you want to take AP related to the major that you want to take in college. It shows you that you already mastered that particular area. So it is better to focus on that topic. But overall, AP helps with the GPA for the kid. All right, so next we're going to talk about extracurricular activities. I think side kind of questions, what we want to do. Again, if you have kids in the middle school, then you want to start planning now as where you want your kids to focus outside of school, right? This is outside of your normal academics. College looks at your extracurricular activities as well, right? In India, at least since I'm from India, there mostly they look at your score and you might write an entrance exam, that's all. But here they have multiple criteria for admissions. One is GPA, the other one is the SAT or SAT, which I think we want to talk real quick. And then the extracurricular activities are essays. So there are multiple factors that will determine somebody to go in admission into the college, right? The extracurricular is one, and where you want to focus or how you want to do is look for in school and out of school. Within school, there are a lot of clubs, right? The kids who are in high school, they probably know. The eighth grade kids, most of them already had an open house in their high school. There are multiple clubs. Your freshman year or your ninth grade, you may want to try a few different clubs to see which is of your interest. And then the rest 3 years, you want to focus on that particular club. So look for consistency, whether you are doing the same club for multiple years, how long you're doing, whether you have leadership roles in those clubs. They look for that as well. Are you passionate enough for whatever you're trying to do? And then the other thing that listed here is 10 for Common App, right? The Common App is an application that the kids will have to fill out for college admission. There is a section that they ask you to list all your activities, and then they have an option to list up to 10, right? So we want to plan for that, what activities you want to list for your college application. The next slide is an example from my daughter, what she did. in her actual application. These are the 10 items that she had listed. So she has been in youth and government. It's a club in her school, and anybody is interested in politics or public policy, it highly recommend that they get to go to Springfield, which is our state house. They pass laws, they debate, they do all kinds of political stuff that the real senators and congressmen do. So they get real exposure to politics. Unlike us in India, we hardly know what's happening, right? This is, they do the actual process. And she has been a student council for last 4 years, and she is the president this year. Triumph Honors is more on the music side. They have different levels. She has been a leadership on that as well. STSA, Sri Lankan Tamil Student Association, she has been part of that for the last 4 years. And Stephanie Kipovic, she is a congresswoman for one of our Illinois districts. She has been volunteering there for the last few years. She is in marching band, dance, percussion. So these are all 10 items she had listed. The next slide kind of highlights why she listed the way she listed them. First thing she listed, again, this is a recommendation from multiple college coaches, right? How you want to rank those common activities. One, list your leadership activities at the top. Extracurriculars that are unique, right? Based on whatever you're doing, what is unique for you. In her case, Stephanie Kifovit was unique because she was interested in youth and government. She was interested in public policy. So she listed her 2 years of volunteering there at the top, even though she had 4 years volunteering with some other organization. And also, they look for quality over quantity, right? When you are a high school freshman, you want to know which clubs you want to focus for the next 4 years. Obviously, first year you want to try a few different ones, but starting from your 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, you focus on few of them and make sure you can do leadership position within that clubs. So, let's see, before we go, is there any questions here? Yeah, was there a question?
Early admission versus regular admission.
Yeah, that is coming. We have a slide on that, so we'll talk about that. So the question about early admission, so we have a slide on that. So next one, we're going to talk about the exams. Atil?
These are the standardized tests that high school students will take in during the course of the high school year. PSAT or NMSQT, this exam, you're going to be taking it a lot. I took it in ninth grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. Every year, some schools do it. And this is to prepare you for the SAT and to see where you're at. Many schools use this to determine whether you can take AP or honors classes if you're up to their standards. And for the NMSQT, this exam, this is the same thing as a PSAT, but it happens one time in 11th grade. And why this is so important is because it'll it'll make you eligible for lots of scholarships. This is the National Merit Scholarship Award, and if you score really high on the NMSQT exam, then you'll get this award, which is a small scholarship, but lots of schools around the US, they offer full tuition if you get this. So you don't have to pay anything for college for some schools if you get this award. Next is the SAT. A lot of schools ask for it. Some are test optional, but I recommend getting a good score and submitting because it will give you a boost over your opponent competitors. The SAT has a score range of 400 to 1600. PSAT slightly less to 1520, but both are around 3 hours long, and you have an English portion and a math portion, and it's really important to study for them. You can there's lots of practice materials online. There's Khan Academy. You can do practice tests. It's the same questions over and over again every year. You just have to be prepared for them. Finally, it's the ACT. If you don't want to do the SAT, you can do the ACT, or you can do both and see which one you're better at. Because ACT has a score range of 1 to 36, lasts for about 3 hours as well, but it asks you questions on science as well. So there's physics, chemistry, and all that stuff, all multiple choice, both exams. SAT has an optional essay, and these exams can put you at a high position during the admissions process. And I say start studying from ninth grade, 10th grade. Yes, repetition is key. You can um, enroll with a tutor. I had my older friend, help me study for it. But you can take practice tests or study on your own. There's lots of books. But if you get a good score, then you'll be at a good position when you start to apply for colleges.
I think the question about scholarship, right? The National Merit Scholarship, the PSAT exam is required, right? If you do well, then you will get scholarship from the federal government. They plus you being a national scholar will help you get scholarship from the actual colleges where you're applying. So the PSAT exam, it's like preliminary start, that's what it means. The sooner they practice and take, it's better. And all these exams you can take multiple times, right? The PSAT we take it, I believe in 10th grade is what qualifies for the actual scholarship. But SAT and ACT you can take multiple times and you can decide which score you want to send it to the college. There's a concept of super score from ACT, I believe. Yeah, I mean, we can talk another session in detail, but you can take multiple times so that you get better and then send your best score to the colleges.
I can talk about super score.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, super score. This is exclusively for the SAT. And in the SAT, you have a reading, an English portion, a math portion. Let's say you do good on the math one time, bad on the English. The next time it's the complete opposite, good on the English, bad on the math. Some schools allow you to take your best score from each exam, put it into one score, and that will give you a higher score than what you actually got. So you take your best scores and send them to colleges, but only some colleges accept this, not the big ones, far
Yeah.
as I know. College college list, safety schools, target
I think
schools.
on my Go ahead. Yeah, so the question is, the exams has been optional SAT and ACT, right? Even now, a lot of colleges say they are optional, but if you're going to apply for a highly competitive school, or they also call it highly selective schools, right? So invariably, most of them look for the sports, even though say it's optional, they look for that sport, especially when they have multiple candidates the same caliber. They want to be able to differentiate, right? So that score is one of the criteria. For the state colleges, maybe you can get admission without sending your test scores. But if you're going to send it to University of Chicago, which is one of the highly selective colleges, right? They all indirectly look how can you differentiate one student from another student, and this is one of the criteria. It's still optional. A lot of websites, if you go, they still say it's optional, but it's highly recommended, especially if you have a good score, then send it, right? Don't. If you have a bad score and if the school says it's optional, then maybe you can try it without sending a score. But if you have a good score, then there's no point in not sending it.
College list, safety, target, reach. This is a list that your counselors may tell you to do, or you should do it on your own during your senior year of high school. This is to help you determine which schools you should apply to and what are your chances at getting accepted. A safety school is a school that you'll most likely get in. You have better grades than most of the students that apply, and it's very affordable. Probably a school in your state nearby, it's is pretty less expensive than one of the higher schools. Okay, target school. This is what you should look for. You won't actually want to go here. This is a little more difficult, but um, it matches your you match their criteria. You have the average uh, SAT, you have the average GPA of the students that go apply here and get admitted. So you have a good chance, but not guaranteed. And these could be schools. Um, Move on. Reach schools. These are kind of like your dream schools. You may or may not get in. These are really highly selective Ivy League schools, state flagship schools like UW Madison, U Chicago, UT Austin. These are reach schools and Ivies too. And everyone who applies there, they have credentials that are higher than yours. They have better GPAs, SAT. They may look at your extracurriculars more, what you did outside of your classroom. They may look at all of that, and it's and you may not have all of that, but you still have a small chance. So why not apply? There's still a small chance, and if you get in there, it's good for you. But you have more. Another thing I want to mention is that safety schools have more scholarships, target and followed by target and reach. So you have to consider financial aid too, but always apply to every school you can that you'd actually go to, because you never know what can happen.
Yeah, so just to give you an example of colleges that might fall in this category. If we take Illinois, UIC, University of Illinois in Chicago, which is close to downtown, right? That would typically fall under safety school. It's a public school. Most of them get admission. The GPA requirements and SAT, ACT score requirement is a little bit less. The target school could be Urbana-Champaign. Urbana-Champaign, computer science is highly competitive, but other courses still public school. So that might fall under target school. University of Chicago, which is also downtown, it's a private college and one of the highly selective colleges. If 40,000 people or whatever number apply, right, their admission rate is 5% or 6%. So they're highly selective. Even though you might have perfect GPA, perfect score in your exam, you may not still get in. So that's why in each school, so for the kids who are applying, we want to have a good balance. Have at least 10 to 15 colleges that you apply. Each college application is around $75, but they do have coupon codes. If you are financially not able to pay, they will be able to offset that, but most of us here will end up paying that application fees, but it's better to have a wide range of colleges instead of just going and applying for a few of them. All right, next is Common App, Adil.
Yeah. The Common App is one of the many applications you can use to apply to colleges, and you can apply to over 900 schools across the nation with just one application. You do this, you copy it, and you paste it, and like you can copy your application and send it to multiple schools. And there's a few factors. There's a family section where you talk about your household, your student section, what you did in high school. There's many sections that you need to fill out, and there's the essay is often the biggest part. It's always required. The Common App personal statement essay is very important essay. You may need to set off a few weeks just to complete this, and there's smaller essays depending on the school. They can have different questions. And that's the bulk of the application. And then there's the application fees, ranges usually between 50 to 100, maybe more per each college. And there's the FERPA application, which I'll discuss in the next slide. But one thing I want to note is there's also applications for certain schools that are not on the Common App. California schools have an application. Here in Texas, there's Apply Texas. There's that application. It's simpler, but if you want to apply to any school you want, the Common App is the easiest way to go. FERPA, this when you do the Common App, you have to read and release your authorization, and it's to reassure colleges that the recommendation letters that you send from your teachers, that you didn't write them. Like your teachers wrote them, and they're being it's like honesty and you're in integrity. If you're honest about your application, sometimes like you can people influence their letters, like lie about stuff on their application, and they just want your to know that you're being honest.
Any questions? Jumper?
Yes. So, question is, AP class related to the medium in college, does it matter?
Yeah, I think we answered that.
Okay, for example, this example is, for example, AP biology. Will it give any value to the computer science major?
No, I think overall AP is recommended. They see the rigor, but if you want to do computer science, then it's better to do an AP that's related to your field, right? So to help you in the college. But AP in general is highly recommended so that you know you're putting rigor and getting a good score. And better to focus on the major that you're going to do. So from an admission standpoint, I don't think it matters.
So another question is, do like economic colleges require SAT or ACT?
Yeah, like most of them still says test optional. I think we mentioned this, whether to send in your SAT or HCT scores. Most of the state colleges, maybe you will get an admission, but if you're going to go for a private, highly selective college, then it's recommended to take the exam and trying to get a good score in that. So we're going to talk about different types of admission. This is again an area where the high schoolers will have to decide, and there is pluses and minuses and how you apply. These are the four major categories on the admission process. Early decision, or they also sometimes say ED. So early decision is you are picking a college and you're telling that college, if you give me admission, then I will join a college. It's a binding agreement. You cannot go and join any other college. So that's what this early decision means, right? You're committing to that college, and if that college gives admission to you, then you get admitted to the college. And the process also is very early. By November or December of the previous year, you already know which college you're going to go. For example, the kids who are in high school right now, the senior kids, if they had done early decision, they already know whether they got it or not in the previous year itself. The early decision, one positive is you're telling the college, I am committed to your college and I will join your college if I get the admission. The negative is if you get admission, if you have a change of heart, a change of mind, then you're not able to go to the other colleges because you already told the college that I will join your college. Early action is again, I would say it's better overall. Early action is you're applying early, which is like in the September, October timeframe. The college application opens up and you're applying to the colleges very early on. But the plus side here is if you get admission, then you're not committed to go to the college. You still have time and then you can decide when which college you want to go. But you're applying early, so your chances of getting admission is higher. That's what the early action is. So regular decision is like an open admission, right? So everybody applies mostly through regular decision. And public colleges will get tens and thousands of applications. So it's better if a college offers early action, then it's better to do early action than regular decision. The key thing here is the kids are overwhelmed by number of essays they have to write because each college has essay requirements. Some of the private colleges have three essay requirements. So they have to manage the time and they have to decide which one they want to do early action or early decision. Rolling admission is basically as the applications come in, the college will look at the application and they will decide whether they're going to admit or not. So that's what this rolling admission means. So EYC or University of Illinois in Chicago, they do rolling admission. So you apply in November, by December you might know if you already got the admissions or not. So there are various options. This comes into play for the kids who are a junior and they're ready to apply for the colleges. So the same thing which I explained in terms of gives you an idea that these dates are typically the same dates for almost every year, but you may want to check when the kids are ready to apply, right? So early decision, apply early, you will know whether you're getting in or not. It's binding and student decision day, right? It's already decided. Early action, apply early, you know whether you get it or not. but you can still apply to other colleges, and you have to decide by May 1st whether you want to join that college or not. A regular decision, by May 1st, you have to decide. Rolling decision, as they come in, you are reviewed and approved, and then May 1st again is the deadline for you to decide. So early decision is something you have to think very hard before you want to do early decision. Some kids, they have already set their mind. We know one of our friend, she wanted to do medicine in Northwestern, and they did early decision, and they got admission, so she was happy with it. But obviously Northwestern is very expensive from a college standpoint, so if the parents are ready to pay, then there's nothing stopping them. So, any other questions?
Okay. How do we get the recommendation letter from the teacher?
I think there is another slide getting restricted. Huh. Yeah, letters of recommendation. Let me see. I know we had a slide. Maybe I skipped that recommend slide here. I'll quickly go through, right? The recommendation. Hang on. Let me see if I can find the slide because she had put the slide together for recommendation. Yeah, so this is again based on my daughter, what she did. She couldn't be here. This is what she had, right? Again, this is general guidelines. Each kid is unique and they want to choose, but general guidelines is you want to pick a teacher with whom you had long-standing association, right? The teacher has to know you very well so that they can write a good recommendation letter. They normally recommend that one with your major subjects and the other one with the other extracurricular activities. Minimum, there are two recommendation letters each colleges will require. And the other common app, right, where there is an option you say, I am not looking at the recommendation letter. That's basically certifying whatever the teachers are writing directly goes to the college and the student doesn't know what's in the recommendation letter. And also, it's better to ask in person and very early on, right? You don't go to your teacher at the last minute and ask them for a recommendation letter. You want to give them at least 6 to 8 months time for them to write the recommendation letters. The earlier is better. So the example she has given here is, even though I'm majoring in sociology or public policy, I didn't ask my government or sociology teacher because he didn't know me well. My psychology teacher was also an advice for youth and government, and my band teacher knows me for 6 years. So she asked her psychology teacher and the band director for the recommendation letter. So better to decide in your high school, as soon as you join your high school, start thinking, whom can I ask for recommendation letters? This is within the school. If you're working somewhere, then you can also get recommendation letters from your workplace as well. So check out what was the question? Yeah, so the advantage, right, as I said, let me go back here. The early decision, right, again, I would see it as more disadvantage, but some kids, they have decided their mind, they want to go to that particular college. And the parents are willing to pay whatever the fees is, not just as an example, is $70,000 to $80,000 per year. And she had designed, is a live example. We know that kid for quite some time, and her dad is a doctor as well. And he went to Northwestern. So somehow she liked the college and she wanted to go there. She said, I'm doing early decision for Northwestern. Luckily, she got in and she's committed to that. The problem is if you get admission, let's say you had also applied for Harvard. You get admission from Harvard, then you want to say, no, I don't go to Harvard, then you cannot go. So that's the main disadvantage of the early decision. Early action, you're still applying early. So if there are applicants, because the deadlines are different. Early action has a deadline, let's say November 31st or November 30th. Maybe the 1,000 people had applied early action, right? You are within the 1,000 pool of candidates. But the regular decision, that could be 10,000 applicants. You are getting decided based on the 10,000 pool. So early action is still better. The challenge for the kids is to manage the number of applications that they have to do and the essays they have to write. That's where the challenge comes in, and the kids has to prioritize, okay, out of the 10 colleges, all of them are doing early action, but maybe 5 is my top priority. I will do 5 of them as early action. With regular decision is little bit later, January 1st of the following year. So they have more time to write the essays. So that is the main thing, right? The other thing on the essays, a lot of colleges don't release the essay prompt. The prompt is basically topic, how they write the essays.
फोर वो वन में पैसा ठाई जाएंगे पढ़ी कुकर पैसे साधु लोग और कुछ चल जाएंगे तो वो करो लोग को
That is like something on.
बात आको वो हम एक बदलते सो
Yeah, so essays, as I said, it is a challenge that at least from my daughter, I saw that she had to write a lot of essays and that takes a lot of time and they have to do the planning. Yeah. That's helpful. Hopefully that answers the question. So, yeah. The early action kind of aligns with most of the schools. There might be slight difference in the weeks, but most of them have almost the same dates, early action and early decision. But each school might change a little, especially the private schools, right? So you do want to go and look at their website and find out what is the actual deadline. But most of them aligned like November 1st, November 30th. Some of the colleges had an early action deadline. Some had early decision as well. So you do want to do the homework to find out the exact date. Not everybody has the same schedule. May 1st is most of the 99% of the colleges you have to design. That is the deadline. March 34th. It could be. May 1st is most of the public universities where you have to make a decision. Yeah, so they give scholarship, especially the private colleges. If your kid is really good, they do give scholarship, so it offsets the overall cost. Even the Northwestern is, let's say, $80,000, you might get scholarship for $40,000. You end up paying only $40,000. So all the scholarships that I'm talking for our kids mostly merit based, right? We definitely won't qualify for the financial aid scholarships. Most of us are well above that need. So. Yeah, yeah. But you may not get the scholarship at the later part, right? Some of them, when they give the offer letter, they will say it, but some will say it at a later part. You won't know the actual scholarship close to the March time frame. All right, so we're going to cover this slide and then we'll take further questions as we go along. So, Ruveda.
So before diving into specifics about the UIC GBPA program, I'd like to talk a little bit about guaranteed medicine programs in general. So in guaranteed medicine programs, so basically there's high school, undergrad, med school. With guaranteed medicine programs, you do have to complete undergrad, you have to go through all the stages, but there's no application process between undergrad and medical school. So you're saving all the stress about medical school applications, the essays, the interviews, letter of recommendations. You're basically saving all of that time and energy, as well as stress, between undergrad and medical school. That's why guaranteed medicine programs are the way to go if you know that you want to become a doctor. So I'm a sophomore in the UIC GPA medicine program. And so specifically regarding this, we're the only guaranteed medicine program in the US that we have our own curriculum. For that, I mean that we have classes that are only for GPPA medicine pre-meds. And the classes, there are 4 classes: evolution of medicine, scope of medicine, medicine and health policy, and there's some other ones too. But basically, they try to introduce you to life as a physician. And this is an advantage that only GBPA students have that no other pre-meds have. So that's one advantage of the program. And specifically, we're the only BSMD program in Illinois that guarantees medical school acceptance as a high school senior. There are some other BSMD programs, like the one with DePaul and Rosalind Franklin, that guarantees you an interview for medical school in sophomore year. Or there are some programs, like there's one in Northwestern, that you can apply to as a sophomore in Northwestern University. But if you want your kid to stay in Illinois, then this is the only option when it comes to guaranteed medicine programs, at least that guarantee acceptance from high school. So another advantage of GPPA specifically is that you can choose pretty much any major. I applied to quite a few BSMD programs across the nation, and most of them require you to major in biology or chemistry, whereas in GPPA you can choose pretty much any major. There are a few exceptions. You cannot do a BA in psychology, you cannot do kinesiology. You can do anything in the College of Engineering or the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. So you have quite a few options when it comes to picking a major. In order to get accepted into the program, you should have a GPA of 30 of as high as possible, because like we said earlier, APs can make it more than 4.0, so you want to really maximize the number of APs. As for ACT, it might be optional now. When I applied, it was optional, but I still decided to take it, and I submitted my score. If you are going to submit your score, you want to aim for a 34 or a 35 because it is a highly competitive program. As for extracurricular clubs or volunteer activities, I would say do one thing or two things, but try to be the best in it. You don't want to do like five different extracurricular activities and then have no leadership positions. You want to pick at least one extracurricular activity in which you can become the president or the vice president of, and that'll show that whatever you chose, you're the best at it. That's what they really want to see. And as for any honors or AP courses in high school that I recommend, like I said earlier, take as many as possible to maximize GPA. But particularly if I had an option or had to choose, I would focus on the science APs because you don't have to take the classes in college. So, like, I'm a biology major. I didn't have to take biology, at least preliminary biology, in college because I had to pass the exam as a high school student. If I chemistry, there's an AP chemistry. If you get a 4 or a 5, you save 1 year of chemistry in college. That's 10 credit hours. So just one, you take one exam, you do well in it, you focus on that, you can save a lot of time and a lot of money. So there are some requirements to continue when you get admission into GPPA medicine. Like I said, there's no application process between undergrad and medical school, but you do have to maintain some like standards. One of them, the GPA should be 3.6. 3.6 might seem like it's not a big deal, but remember that it's on a 4.0 scale. There's no AP classes in college because they're all college level classes. So the maximum GPA you can get as a college student is 4.0. So 3.6 is what you have to maintain in order to matriculate from undergrad to UIC medical school. And you do have to get a 513 out of 528 on your MCAT. Additional requirements. So when you're applying to the GPA program as a high school student, I think you have to write an extra essay as well, but the rest of the application process is the same. And you have to be part of the honors college. So UIC, they have basically three waves when it comes to the application cycle. There's the regular UIC admission. So I applied as a biology major. I got my acceptance for that pretty early, but that just got me into UIC. Then you get the honors college acceptance. And then a few months later, hopefully you get invited for an interview with the GPA medicine program. So there's waves to the acceptances. And some GPA programs require you to be a part of the honors college, but some do not. Medicine requires you, I believe law requires you, but there are some that don't. There's GPA programs for basically every graduate school, GPA law, medicine, and you can apply to whichever one that you can see yourself doing a career in.
Thank you. I think this is something I did not know until I started doing college research for my daughter. So GPPA is Guaranteed Professional Program Admissions, right? UIC Medicine and our sister here, she's doing second year pre-med, and inshallah, she will be a med student in 4 years from now or 2 years from now. So it's a guaranteed program. You go as an undergraduate and then you graduate into the medical school. Similarly, they have a guaranteed program for law as well. So if somebody is interested in law, the GPPAs are there. Even for dentists, they have a 7 or 8 GPPA program in UIC. It's like some people used to call it a sandwich program. Basically, you go in, come out as with your master's degree in whatever field you want to do. There are other colleges. The link will be there in the slides. Similar programs are offered from the other out of state as well. But the USC big plus for us, it's local and fees wise is relatively less compared to other colleges. And kids are within our home's reach as well if they want to come home. This slide again is from Wabansi Valley, one of the high school in District 404. It gives you a rough idea when you want to plan for what, right? I will quickly touch upon a few things here. You can see early decision, early action is around November time frame. And then there's also an early decision too, where you get the information back and then rolling admission starts from summer all the way to the following year, regular decision. The reason why I have a long bar and based on the college, some of them do vary. And then when to take the PSAT, SAT, ACT, AP exams as well. So this like a high level planning as when you want to do it. One thing I think Rueda touched upon as well, some universities do have an interview requirement after filling out the application, after writing the exam, and everything else. They will have an interview, especially most of the private colleges do have, and then the GPPA program does have an interview as well. So until you're done with the interview and you get back your acceptance, nothing is guaranteed. So inshallah, I think there was a couple of questions. So I'm going to see on the slide over here. We have a lot of youth here. I don't hear any questions from the youngsters. No questions from the youngsters. I see a few people on the sister side as well. Everybody is forced, right? You're all blaming your dad or mom. I wanted to sleep or be at home. They forced me here. Okay. I think we covered this one. Difference between early decision and early action, right? The early decision is mainly binding, so we would decide on early decision. And if you get admission, you have to join the college. Early action, you can still apply early, but you don't have to go to that college if you get the admission. You can still have the option. How long does it take to graduate as a doctor, pre-med and med? Rueda, do you want to answer that?
Sure, I'll answer that. So, um, for UIC GPPA specifically, you can do your undergrad in 3 years or 4 years, or you can even do it in 2 if you have a lot of APs. Most people do it in 3 or 4. I haven't heard of anybody doing it in 2. So undergrad is very much dependent on the number of APs you take, the degree that you're having. So like if you take an easy degree in which you finish most of the classes because of your APs, then you can graduate early. And then medical school is standard 4 years everywhere, including with UIC GPPA, it's 4 years for medical school. Pretty much any guaranteed medicine program, you have to do medical school in 4 years. There are some, like UMKC, they make you do everything in 6 years, undergrad and medical school. But most of them, 7 to 8 years for pre-medicine and medicine. You don't do it in less than 7 years total.
The question about many of our kids doing full-time shifts during their high school ages, will it impact them in their college? What are the options they have? I think we have a fifth graduate here, right? Want to answer?
Okay, yeah. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
when you're doing HIVs during your high school years, most of the time it doesn't really affect your whatever college you're going into. Because usually, like during high school, you're gonna have to work extremely hard, much more harder than the other your peers, your other students, your classmates. And like even if you let's say you just don't meet some of the college requirements, all that means is that you're gonna have to take a couple more gen eds than like the normal persons. That's pretty much it, yeah.
All right, any other questions from people here? If not, I'm gonna quickly launch a survey. We want to understand what topics. Yes.
The rolling admissions, like of junior, yeah, junior level are not considered.
No, all the application you do the fall of your scene. For example, my daughter started applying last September. So just when you are entering the senior year, that's when you start applying the application. But a lot of the colleges, they do ask for mid-year GPA scores. For example, you already submitted your score based on the first 3 years of your high school, but they want to see you are still maintaining your good grades or not. So some of them will ask you to submit mid-year school in your high school senior, but the application starts like as soon as you enter your senior, you start doing it, or even earlier than that, right? After junior, it starts. All right, let's see.
Everyone can get into the slide now, so that we should participate in the survey.
Yeah, we wanted to see what topics we want folks. So there is a, let me start this one here. It's not working. Yeah, so I had a questions about, maybe I can share it here. You can put this on the Q&A or the chat. What topic you would like to go in depth for? We do have a session next week, so we want to understand which area we want to focus more. College savings, SAT, ACT, or college application or scholarship, right? These are like 4 topics we had. Where you think we want to spend more time? So you can put that as a area. The actual poll I had is giving me an error for whatever reason.
If you want, I can post it.
Yeah, we can even publish this after the survey. So please take time and fill it out.
Have like additional like couple of minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Since you asked the question.
Yes.
The first question is, I'm planning to do architecture in college.
Okay.
Is it more beneficial to take a AP class unrelated to that category or a non-AP engineering course? You can repeat the question.
Yeah, I think the question is, I'm going to do architecture in college. Is it beneficial to do AP related to architecture or AP related to engineering? I think based on what I know and I think Roveda or Arthur can answer as well. It's recommended to do APs related to the major that you're going to do in college. But if you are undecided, if you don't know what major you're going to do, then I think it's okay to have APs done. But Roveda, you are Arthur, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So there's some core classes in college too. Obviously, you want to do APs related to your major, but there's some core classes like social studies, English that you may need to take in college your first year, first to depending on how much. And if you take those, you may want to take those APs in high school, and that way you can get rid of your core classes and go straight to your major if you are decided.
Yeah, I was pretty much going to say something along the same lines that if you know for sure that you're going to do architecture in college, then you know that you're going to have to take an architecture class in college. So you might as well take it now and save the time and the money then.
So there's another question from another youth. What should we do if we are unsure what major to take in college, right? A lot of colleges, they do have an option. The first year, you don't have to declare the major. It's plus and minuses, right? In India, if you join an engineering course, you already know what you're going to do for 4 years. But here, the options are too many, and sometimes it's not good as well. At times, it's good for kids to take their time to find out what they want to do. So most of college that we have gone for the college visit, I mentioned, right? These questions come up during college visit. You can ask them. Majority of the college, they say you can apply as undecided major. After a year, some of them even after 2 years, then you declare the major, right? But it's better to know during the high school. It's better for planning purposes if you know what major you're going to do. So you can start planning your clubs, your activities, or AP. It's better, but I know a lot of kids may take a while. So the college does have an option. You don't have to apply for a specific major if you're unsure. You can declare as undecided.
Quite a few questions over here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, let's maybe answer them quickly. I know we are 3 minutes over. There's a question, Veda, for UIC GPPA. For direct MD after getting admitted, still the student should maintain the GPA of 3.65 and MCAT 513. Is it required to continue the medical after bachelor?
So to answer the first part of your question, yes, you do have to maintain a GPA of, it's not 3.65, it's 3.6, but you have to maintain that, and you also have to get a 513. Those are the only two conditions for continuing into the medical portion. And you also have to take like basically the science prerequisite. So there are some conditions that you have to have in order to continue to the medical school portion of the program. And is it required to continue to medical school? I mean, no, if you don't want to become a doctor, nobody can force you. If you don't say, I don't want to continue, I don't want to do medical school, then you can just do something else after bachelor's in science or bachelor's in arts. But I mean, the whole idea of the program is that you have the intention of becoming a physician. So if you're not sure whether you want to become a doctor or not, I mean, the program really isn't for you at that point.
Okay. Are there any minimum hours you need to do community service to get a merit scholarship? So they used to have minimum hours required for community service. That is no longer the case. So you can volunteer as many hours you want, but the key thing is to stay focused on few clubs and try to get into the leadership position, right? Even the volunteering side of it, you can still try to get leadership position. There is no minimum required hours any longer. They used to have around 200, I think, but now it's not there. Is it possible to take two majors at the same time in the same college? Yes, it's possible. People have done it. Most of them just do a major and minor, but if you capable enough to do two majors, you can enroll. My school has many engineering courses options, but none are AP. Would it still be beneficial to take a non-AP engineering course rather than another AP class? Um, I think the question, as I mentioned before, right, the main benefit of taking an AP class, one, it's going to help with the GPPA. But if you do want credit to your college, then you have to write the exam, AP exam, and you have to have, I don't remember the exact minimum score you need to get to the AP exam for it to be qualified. If they don't offer engineering courses, then it's recommended to have at least few AP to show that you can take the rigor of college and also it improves your overall GPA as well. For a student who's US citizen doing high school in Canada, okay, that part I am not sure. We'll have to check. Assuming it's same, but I don't want to speak, right? They technically consider international student, so the process might be slightly different. So you can check and get back on that. Yeah, so the Slido Q&A will be open. So if you have further questions, you can continue to post it as well. And inshallah, our email is event@tmag.com. If you have any questions, you can do that. But I think we answered all the questions
One
that
last
came
question.
in, right?
Slide of example. Slide in Python.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about India, but some people have used it in UK. It is a risk, right? If you're going to use it outside of US, you have to do your own research and make sure whichever college you're planning on will accept those funds. But people have used in some colleges in UK. Not every college is qualified, so it is a risk that you are taking if you want to go outside of US. I think there's a couple of slides with the resource will share the slide. I highly recommend there was a session done by our ICN kid, Nas Mullah, like 3 or 4 weeks back. He was a Duke graduate. He's doing medicine in Harvard. We had a similar session and a lot of good details. Parents and high school kids, if we did not attend the session, it's in YouTube ICA channel, and I have the link here as well. So go and listen to that as well. A lot of perspective from his side, right? He has gone, Duke is highly selective college, and Harvard is an Ivy League as well. So make sure if you're very much motivated to go to an Ivy League, you want to listen to that. And there's a slide about our youth committee here. If your kids are interested in youth committee, do let us know. Either you can fill out the form or send an email to event@tmagc.com. Anything else? All right, I would like to thank everyone and we'll close off with the dua. Rafat Bhai, take down. So for the youth committee, right, we can also provide volunteering hours. We already started our youth committee. They are actively involved in multiple events. So this could be for your high school application as well. As I said, the hours, there's no minimum hours, but if you want to spend like next 3 years or 4 years helping TMAG with their activities, then that will be beneficial to your college as well.
How do you enroll the hours in school?
You have to fill out the form to TMAGC that we certify so many hours we filled. Then you set that out on the application.
الحمد لله رب العالمين ربنا لا تؤاخذنا رحمنا إصلاً كما حملنا ربنا لا تحملنا واغفرنا وارحمنا This community make them all leaders and make this community make them take the iman and punish the iman and make them as it's all the challenges which is happening now. Protect them from shaitan. We need some help volunteers to be on the chairs and the arrangements.
Youth volunteers, right?
Youth volunteers.
They get the volunteering hours.
Yes, we'll give you some volunteers.
Thank you, Atif and Rueda. Thank you. We're going to end the WebEx session now. Thank you.